Thank you. I won't give my name or my rank. I'll just say that. At that time, I was working for an intelligence cell in the north of the country, sometimes with the Navy and sometimes with the National Intelligence Center. Our job was to intercept, observe, and keep quiet. One early morning, we got an unusual alert, an intercepted message between operators of the cartel of the last letter. But they weren't talking about drugs or weapons. They were talking about three guys who knew too much. They had them picked up. They weren't lookouts or rivals. They were well-known hackers, the kind that take down governments on social media, leak information, and think they're untouchable. One of them had apparently crossed the line. He had names of commanders, trafficking routes, videos of politicians at private parties with drug dealers, audios, coordinates, bank accounts. And for some reason, that leak was never made public, but the cartel intercepted it somehow, and they reacted kindly as always. The first one was executed within 48 hours in front of an unedited camera. They tied him to a metal chair with barbed wire, poured gasoline on him, and set him on fire. I saw the video before dawn, a guy in flames screaming, writhing. I didn't know who he was yet, but that image has never left me. Before he died, they broke his fingers with a hammer, one by one. This is what's going to happen to all the guys who want to play tough. That's what the sign they left at his feet said. The video wasn't uploaded to social media. It was leaked to the darkest part of the web, where gore is currency, where nothing is forgotten. The other two were still alive for now, and the hackers, arrogant, replied, "Release them, or we release everything." Their names, their bosses, their politicians, their accounts, their coordinates are going to burn on the map. But here in Mexico, the cartels aren't scared by pixels. Here they find you and track you down, and if they want, they get you. The cartel hired its own hackers. They had Russians, Colombians, Israelis on their payroll, people who didn't mess around with NS, and they released their response within hours. We already know who you are, where you live, what your mother has for breakfast, the color of the underwear you wore yesterday. Will you look me in the eyes when I come for you? When the war is fought in Sinaloa in silence, the bullets are wires, and the dead are profiles that disappear. And then the hunt began. Forums fell. Networks were taken down. They tracked signals one by one, like someone dismembers without hurrying. The two surviving hackers were released but broken, without fingernails, with shattered ribs. One mumbled to himself, the other didn't even cry. One fled to South America, changed his name, and never got in touch with the other again. We don't know about the one who died first. I still have the image. I saw how he screamed, how he writhed, how they broke him until he disappeared. And since then, many learned something. Here in Mexico, the war isn't just fought with weapons, but those who think this is a game end up like them, in silence and forgotten. I learned something else. Here, the truth isn't published. The truth is buried with broken teeth and open eyes. I'm a nurse in the Navy. I managed to get promoted thanks to my bachelor's degree in nursing, and even though it wasn't easy, I achieved it with discipline. In here, that matters more than any diploma. When I joined, I was assigned to a battalion in an operational zone. Nothing glamorous, but with a good rank. I had to do everything from treating boot blisters to stabilizing wounded soldiers in a helicopter. There are no air-conditioned hospitals here. There's mud, pressure, and wounds you don't see in the books. But the real breaking point was a day I'll never forget. They brought me a master sergeant being held by 3 men. The guy came in unhinged, sweating, screaming, saying someone was going to kill him. He wasn't a criminal. He was one of ours, a veteran with more operations under his belt than years of service in other units. But there was something strange about him, a trauma, a literal red flag. Every time he saw a red light, a lamp, a radio indicator, whatever it was, his mind would switch on like he was in a war zone. He thought he was going to be ambushed, that someone was going to attack him. And there I was with my neatly pressed uniform, trying to calm him down. I was never trained for that. They teach you how to give injections, how to intubate, how to suture, but they don't teach you how to stop a brother in arms who's convinced he's gonna die because of a lamp. That day I broke a little because I realized there are wounds that don't bleed, but you carry them every day. I've also had to treat comrades who accidentally cut themselves out at sea, take care of fractures on deck with the ship moving like crazy. I've had to set up IVs in the middle of a shootout and bandage someone who had a wound in his stomach. And all I could say was, hang in there.
Doc, hang in there.
I've seen collapsed lungs, infections due to lack of equipment, co-workers crying because they found out their boss died. They still line up. I've had to clean the bodies of infants and prepare bodies so their families don't see them destroyed. Honestly, being in here changed me. Nursing in the Navy isn't like it is in civilian life. Here, you don't just heal, you hold on, and sometimes you can save someone, but most of the time you just try to keep them from dying in front of you. I did my Special Forces course, and like in all of them, there's a stage that splits you in two, even before you go through it. And after that, they call it prisoner of war. And it's so brutal that sometimes I still wonder if it was really just training or if I was actually in the hands of the enemy. It all starts like a game. Hide from the instructors, avoid them, survive. But if they catch you, you're no longer a student. You're a prisoner. They caught me one early morning with my shadow when we were going to the bathroom. I heard branches breaking behind me. I ran, I tripped, and in seconds I already had the black hood over my head. They handcuffed me with zip ties, dragged me, hit my ribs for resisting. That's where the hell began. They moved me to a freezing room, wet floor, and suddenly a door burst open with a loud bang. Screams, laughter, crying, all mixed together without rest. I didn't sleep for days. Every time I closed my eyes, they'd throw a bucket of cold water in my face, and then the beatings would come. Punches to the stomach, knee strikes, wet towels that burned like whips. My lips were busted, my ankles were digging into the restraints, my hands were numb, and my mind was confused.
Is this a course?
Or did they really capture me?
There, in the midst of that mental fog, came the instructor's questions.
Where are your friends now?
They would cover your eyes and tell you to talk, to give names, routes, to ask for your discharge. And if you refused, more water, more cold, more darkness, more beatings. They would do anything to break you. I found a comrade hanging by his arms with his toenails curled up. He babbled nonsense. Another one was screaming that he wanted to see his mom, and one just started laughing loudly, non-stop, like a madman. If you talk, you're out. I didn't, but I almost did. One night I heard my teammates' voices searching for me during an extraction exercise, and I screamed and cried. Here I am. CNES, get me out of here. And then lights, screams, confusion, everyone trapped. It was an ambush. They hooded everyone, but he stayed.
See what happens when you trust?
They told us as they threw us in the mud. Shivering. And again,
It's worth being in the Special Forces.
days like this, without food, without rest, without water, without direction, and then the silence. When the stage ended, they took us out one by one, looked us in the eyes, searching for who had stayed sane. Many were no longer there. Some requested to leave. Others never spoke the same way again. I survived, but I'm not the same. because to be part of the Special Forces, you first have to die as a civilian and be born again. Cold, silent, unstoppable. It was worth it, yes, but no one who hasn't been through it will ever understand.
Wearing sturdy boots, they walk under the blazing sun. Zadina confronts adversity directly and resolutely. Discipline, courage, loyalty. In his mind, armored and roaring dust rises as they patrol fearful cities. There's no turning back or a single misstep. Entering the zone, danger is rare.